All right, good morning, guys. 47 minutes after the hour on this Tuesday. Hope you are doing well. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Goode. Welcome to the blog here today. It's not Storm Talk today, at least for a couple of days. I'm hoping we can avoid that title before we get back to, another stormy pattern. It's a back and forth setup. I'll explain coming up. First off, just welcome aboard. Appreciate you guys. For those of you watching on streaming, we're going to have a conversation at times with those that are on the social media side. So you can go there if you want to see some of the comments or if you want to chime in as well on the comments. So I didn't want you guys to think I'm just talking to myself at times, which I tend to do. All right. Good morning to everyone. Looks like we have Tater Tot Gaming. Hi, Tater Tot. YouTube and Wave app notifications are instant. Yeah, Facebook. Yeah, Facebook is a little... the social media things that we really can't control too much of them, even in YouTube, even though it does well on YouTube. A lot of them are slow sometimes to send out, but the app is pretty instant. That's the most, honestly, that's the most reliable of all of them is the Wave weather app. So if you don't have that, download that because that is an instant. As soon as I hit the button to send that notification to you all, it goes and it hits the phone. So that's the for sure way to get notifications fast. So thank you for mentioning that, Tater Tot. Let's see. Yeah, the heat index, Michael, we're going to talk about that. There are some adjustments still, I think, that will have to be made on that, good and bad, that we'll be covering in the coming days. 3 inches of rain last night, Carrie. Yeah, we're going to be showing that here in just a second. Little mini vort or a little low pressure last night that was rolling on by. So good morning. Looks like everybody's awake. Usually Tuesdays. I think Tuesdays can be a little rough. Mondays are rough, but Tuesday I think sometimes can be a rougher day sometimes to wake up. All right, anyway, let me show you the live view. This is from top of the waterfront plaza in downtown. Now here's what's interesting. We've got a mix of high-level clouds, fog, and smoke. Yes, the Canadian wildfire smoke is back in the region here today with that northwest flow that has moved in. It's only a one-day stay for it, and I don't see it causing any issues on air quality. But it's just got that combination today. All three create that hazy kind of weird look to the sky here, and we're going to hold on to that for at least a good chunk of the first part of the day, and then we'll just slowly improve it as we head a little more into the afternoon. All right, rainfall in the last 24 hours. All right, this is what Carrie was talking about. 2 different ways we had rain yesterday. One across central and southern Kentucky with the boundary that was here over the weekend, sunk a little more south, produced some showers and storms in several cases in our southern counties. And everyone got a ton of rain. There were pockets of 1.5 inches, maybe up to 2 inches in a few areas. And then we have the secondary boundary, which is the one that's over us today, which is the push, a backdoor cold front type of setup where it's moving in from the northeast and heading southwest. That took a while to really ignite, which we knew it was going to be a late day, but the challenge we have with this one, that second piece, is where would it form and would it impact Louisville, would it impact the flood areas or not? That became very questionable as we moved into the afternoon. But sure enough, downpours did indeed develop the last minute there in the evening, and then we had this little vort, little mini low, if you will, that developed near Lawrence County and kind of tracked right there all the way to the south and east and then started to fade out. So only along this path and just ahead of it got a decent amount of rain last night. Otherwise, the boundary didn't form enough activity to really produce much rain, even for Louisville and certainly for the northeast areas, which I don't think is a bad thing. You guys have had enough. So that's a big plus. Here's a closer view of that. You can see it again moving from Lawrence County all the way through Orange into Crawford, parts of Harrison. And there was a little bit of an outflow here that produced some downpours in advance of it that tried to form all the way into Bullitt County there. But they didn't last too long, which is good. None of this caused any flash flooding, but it certainly did add to the water table for your area. Now, the good news is we're going to get a break. Okay, we're going to get a break. This is good. However, we do see some changes coming our way as we head toward the latter half of the week here, and certainly for the weekend. All right, for today, the game plan. Well, we've got the smoke, haze, fog type of setup, but the boundary has pushed to the southwest. You can see it right through here. Now, today is what we call a differential heating type of day. So what I mean by that is as the fog here begins to lift and skies become a little more partly sunny, that's a spot to watch for isolated showers and storms today. I think this is going to be another edge of the parkways issue or southwest. Not really sold on anything right now that would develop any further north and east. For today, dew points are actually about 10 degrees lower today than what we had yesterday. So that you should have noticed the difference. I mean, it's not dramatic. It's still humid air, but compared to mid 70s, upper 70 dew points where you just walk out and just instantly sweat, yeah, there's the difference today. So that means that the storm chances will be lower. So I think only limited to the differential heating areas, which again, our far southwest areas, I think will be a little more prime for that. Radar is quiet right now. So we got several hours of dry time for most of the area today. You can see the moisture levels. Yeah, they're still there. But again, a lot of that's been pushed to the southwest and not as much of a deep green look like you have in the Carolinas here. That's what's really tropical air. And they're still dealing with heat advisories for that area with heat indices close to 105, 108 in that area. So very, very hot in the Carolinas and very muggy. I was talking about Columbia, a couple weeks ago, how I remember Columbia, you just couldn't breathe when I went there because you didn't have the sea breeze from the ocean like Charleston did. So it was like, Columbia, again, and Augusta. I would add Augusta to that. Two of the highest moisture dew point areas I think I've ever felt in my life. Anyway, I digress. Our area, seeing, again, lower amounts, still enough. Still enough, though, for an isolated shower or thunderstorm chance. That's why they got to stay in the forecast. Now, what is going to be interesting, and you're going to see this on future casts here in a second, this boundary, I'm going to try to, don't make fun of my drawings, I'm trying to do this as easy as I can. Here's the boundary layer today for the moisture trigger, right? Okay, as we head into tomorrow, it will be like this. Straight up and down, mainly from Illinois, straight into, say, Jackson, Tennessee. Still mainly west of us, right? So we don't have a high heat index just yet, and we don't have a thunderstorm risk. Everything, because of being north, south, and west of us, we're still good. But it keeps tilting. So when we get into Thursday, it's like this. That's what brings in the higher heat index for Thursday. But at the same time, I'm seeing a growing potential for thunderstorms here on Thursday that are starting to show up because of that moisture boundary being back in the area. And if I were to keep on drawing, we would end up with a high amount of moisture east-west, and at the same time, a cold front drops down over the weekend and runs right into that wall of moisture. And that's what's going to fire up the showers and storms. And when it's not storming, just like we went through with this last little phase, if you will, when it's not storming, the heat index is going to be over 100 in several spots. And areas that get rain will obviously be a little lower, but you're dealing with heavy rain. So the weekend and really into a good chunk of early next week, the heat index is going to be an issue on a daily basis. So while we're highlighting the heat index later this week, it still will be a factor this weekend into about Tuesday next week. We still will be talking about it, and it could still match the level that we're talking about on Thursday. It could still get up to 105. So we're just highlighting the trends of getting into the heat. But as far as this being the core of the heat and then we're done with it, I don't think that's the narrative anymore. I think we're going to start just entering just a more humid setup and hot, but hot and dry, hot and very, very humid and no rain out there at all, that kind of feeling. The only day that I see that will match, actually 2 days, I'll be fair, 2 days that I think could match that will be tomorrow and Friday, actually. Thursday, I still think Thursday may be a little more active than what it was first looking like for showers and storms. So, as always, the weather keeps changing, guys. All right, keeps evolving here. So, this has been a fun season. Okay, let me show you one of the high-res models to kind of tell you that storyline I just showed you. Again, you can see where the cape is. This is all the fuel, storm fuel. The more you get into the brighter gold color, that's the more fuel, and the red is lower amounts. And obviously, you don't have to worry about it at all and around Louisville and north and east. But it is very, very low for this afternoon. So that's why, again, it's only going to be the areas that have some of that differential heating. You got just enough of a kick there that a couple of downpours could pop. But a better chance certainly for Paducah and Land Between the Lakes area of West Kentucky. Okay, so we move into tomorrow. Now we get into the north-south part here. So thunderstorms are going to form when the boundary tilts. But remember, it keeps tilting. So as we get into Thursday, it will tilt even more now to the slant that takes it from Ohio through Louisville down to Paducah. South of that boundary, obviously, you're going to stay more on the drier side and hot, but wherever that moisture plume, and it's a very narrow band, wherever that sets up shop, not only will you have a high heat index, but you'll have some showers and storms. But as far as the actual temperature goes, we may not get to 96. I think it may end up being relatively cloudy with the cumulus, the way this is trending here, so that may shave off a degree or two. Either way, it's hot. But anyway, that's kind of fine-tuning that I'm kind of noticing with the morning modeling that is coming in. And as I mentioned, I think Friday, because that boundary actually lifts a little bit more north. It's still tilted, but it's a little bit more north as we head into Friday. So Friday may end up being more of a drier day for the area before it does sink right back over us again for the weekend. Storm chances for the weekend are still there. We just don't know yet if Saturday versus Sunday is going to be the higher trend. The data is not very clear on that. And honestly, it makes sense that we're not going to be able to pinpoint that on Tuesday, but we'll keep the rain chances at least elevated for the weekend and just stay tuned. And I'm sure we'll be able to pick out definitive spikes in the weekend rain chance so that you don't think that's going to be a washout, and you can adjust your plans if you need to accordingly. We're going to help you out with that. Be patient with us. Give us another, I would say, day and a half, and we should be able to see those spikes a little more definitively and be able to pinpoint them. So we'll be talking about that here on the blog, okay? So as far as the heat and the heat index goes, again, tomorrow builds in that first round, but the higher moisture levels are still west, so I don't think the heat index is really out of control very much tomorrow. But if you want a good pool day for sunshine and hot, you want the hot stuff, right? All right, you want the hot stuff. You want it to be quiet, though, on the radar. Tomorrow, I think, is a good day for that, if that's what you want. There you go. If you're planning out a pool day this week. Thursday will come with a mix. Some areas, mid-90s, heat index 100 to 105, but there will be a risk of thunderstorms here on Thursday. And as we get into Friday, I think the same idea is at play, but I don't think the storm chance will be as high the way it's trending here. But we'll, again, work on that for your Friday. So before I get to the weekend, any questions on that before everybody's want to know about August? I'm going to tease about August, I promise, coming up. Hang tight. Are the storms look like they'll be severe or still early to tell? Kelly's asking. I'm assuming you mean for the weekend. Too early to tell, but it's the same. I'm going to show you some of the severe weather outlooks, but it's the same thought process that you can get, wind damage, severe weather warnings, watch boxes, but models are not going to sniff that out in a summer pattern. Unlike the fall and spring season, it's a little easier to do, and it's mainly because of the wind fields. They're not as strong in these kind of setups, but I do think we will have some severe weather in the region with this next round of stormy weather. I think that's pretty likely, to be honest. Just based on what I've seen, I think it's going to be happening. I just don't know if it's going to be here or Indiana or, Glasgow, Kentucky. I don't know. I don't know yet. But the environment will be certainly conducive for some severe, Kelly, so stay tuned. We'll, again, let you know with that. Let's see. Any other questions before I move on there? That little bubble. Oh, the rain from last night. Yeah, Carrie, that was right over you there. Crispy, yeah, that little pop-up in Valley Station was crazy. It was, yeah, it was weird how it popped actually and didn't move, right? I don't think it moved for 30 minutes or so. It just sat there. I was watching it. I was like, man, I'm glad it was, personally, I wasn't glad it was my house. I've had enough rain. Okay, everyone looks good. Well, Woodland State Fair Day. I'm glad you asked. It is, Wave Day at the fair is Tuesday, August 19th. August 19th, so Tuesday. We will be out there at the fair. We'll keep you up to that. I think we have something airing on TV about it already. Okay, so what happens for the weekend? Well, let me show you the Euro. I think it does a decent job on the storyline. They're all fairly similar with the idea. It even shows the thunderstorms on Thursday, right over us, right? That little moisture plume. So even the global models, we call these, are sniffing that out. Okay, we get into the weekend. This is where it's just about this front that is sagging down from the Great Lakes, that'll drift down toward the Tennessee Valley as we head into the Ohio Valley for the weekend. And the exact same thing is happening with the moisture plume that we're going through now. It's going to tilt. So here we go with my fun drawings. You ready? As we get into Monday of next week, it will look like this. I'm trying to draw it right. We get into Tuesday next week, it will look more like this. And Finally, by Wednesday, the whole thing, whatever I drew, the whole thing will actually have a chance to get pushed to the southwest. Could get interesting. I'll explain in just a second. All right, let's get into the weekend front, though. Again, that's boundary, east-west, showers and storms. There'll be training in some cases, so we'll have to watch out for heavy rain and flash flooding again. Now, we're going to get a bit of a reset here, right? The ground's having a chance to dry out, so our level of flash flooding will have a little bit higher of a threshold. We're going to gain some ground here, which is good. We need that. But still, be weather aware. Don't see a reason to cancel your plans yet for the weekend. Just know that we will be dealing with storms. If I had to pinpoint right now, if you're more north on Saturday, your risk is higher, and then on Sunday, it's a little more over Kentucky. But that's how it's trending. It's all about how fast does it sag south, to be honest, and that's up to the front. Once it does so, though, we get into that tilt, and that's only the issue I see that's going to be a problem for us initially, is when we get into that tilt, we are in the ring of fire here. As we talked about, there's that high, and there's the ring of fire going around it. We are in the zone now for these MCSs, these complexes of thunderstorms to once again form, and then in the Ohio Valley. We start to enter that about Monday and 2 parts of Tuesday, and they can produce some really strong winds when they do this. So to me, the severe risk looks a little more concerning when we get to that kind of a setup. But once again, we saw this tease before, and you guys made fun of me for this. We saw this tease before where the trough here, the Hudson Bay Low, that's been talked about so much, sorry, everything's going nuts here. Once again, this little dip wants to try to fight and push the ring of fire back west. But how far does it go? That makes a huge difference. And if it can just go just a little bit further than what it's saying, we could actually get into a Goldilocks area. I'm talking about 80s without having to deal with thunderstorms. Wouldn't that be nice? Maybe even lows into the lower 60s would be awesome. Could even get 50s in some cases, some of the data I've looked at. So it's going to be interesting for the end of the month how this plays out. You see the Euro and GFS are doing the same thing. They really wanted to push this down. But we got to be careful. We don't want to be in that ring of fire zone, so it's got some work to do. It's going to have to really push more to the south and west. And I think that's going to hold for the first few days of August, the first week of August. But I don't think it's going to stay. I think it will eventually move back north, and we will get into more than likely a heat wave, I would say mid-August. At that point, we may see this repeat again, and then the tropics start lighting up, and then we'll have that whole narrative. I'm going to go into a long-term outlook, a little more detail on August and September coming up tomorrow. We'll talk in much more detail on it. I could even go to October. I may go to October. I feel adventurous. We'll see. But that's how things are looking in the storyline for the weekend into early next week. Type 3, if you're okay. If you understand all that, and I was clear, I hope so. Kelly was asking about severe. Here's your CSU, Colorado State severe outlook here. Again, as we get into it, so here's Thursday, north of us, so I'm not worried about whatever pops here on severe. Friday, there's the front sagging down, so you see it, and you can actually see the tilt that happens here as we get into next week. And again, those northwest storms diving in. So there's not a lot of clear, severe outlooks, and there won't be in advance in this kind of a pattern. So not to be shocked about that. Okay, so for today, we got that hazy sky, kind of smoky out there because the Canadian wildfire smoke is back. 94, again, tomorrow is a good pool day for tomorrow. Then we get into the heat and some scattered storms as we get into Thursday, maybe Friday, but Friday may be a little bit drier. But the weekend does look stormy at times. We stay hot into early next week as we're in that northwest ring of fire zone. We'll work on the rain chances as we get a little closer on that. Right now it's hard to put a higher rain chance in until we know for sure something's going to dive in. And then we'll account for some showers, maybe some thunder at the middle of next week when the boundary, that dip is happening. There may be some rain with that initially as it's happening. So that's where the temperatures then drop into the 80s. There's a glimmer of hope, guys, at the very end of this whole thing, but it's going to take some time. 2.99. All right, close enough, Adam. Close enough. Close enough. Margaret, need to cut the hay. I've been hearing that a lot. It's been tough. Dependable dry spells. Yeah. I mean, you don't want a drought, right? But you need about, 4 or 5 days of good dry weather. It's tough this year. It really is because thunderstorms can pop. This week does feature a better opportunity to get some of that. I think Thursday is the only day you'll have to just watch out for. But you could get lucky. It won't be overly organized. They'll be spotty, so that will allow you to get some dry time. But the weekend, yeah, we're going to be a little more widespread fashion here on some of these rain and downpours. And next week, it just depends, Margaret, if we can get that to push southwest. We may get some drier and cooler weather. But, you know, I'm afraid to tease it because I did last time, and then it backed away from it, and it didn't really happen. So I don't want to put too much faith on it. These are very sensitive setups. Just a few hundred miles, you know, makes a huge difference on how we improve our weather a lot. Carrie, we use the Euro model a lot here. Do they use our models over there? No, I doubt. Very high score. GFS, not so much. And honestly, it's just because GFS is government controlled, and to get updates out of it is tough. It's a process, a lot of red tape to get GFS modeling to update. The Euro is privately owned, and so therefore they spend a lot of money and update constantly. So they catch a lot of the errors that are in the math formulas for weather models, and therefore fine-tune and correct those errors a lot faster than the GFS model can. But at the same time, they're all different math formulas, different opinions of how modeling should be. And some factors of the GFS are pretty good at times and can beat the Euro. So it's not always the Euro that, as they always say, it's not keen Euro. It doesn't always win. How about fall first? Yeah, it would be nice to get fall. Any talk on why LMK didn't issue warnings in southern Hardin yesterday? I have not heard anything about that. I know that we had some lightning that struck a home, I believe, but I didn't hear anything more on that, no. I think that was after I left. But I know you guys had some pretty rough thunderstorms there in southern Hardin. Okay, I think you guys are all right. I'm not going to ramble too much because tomorrow I'm going to be talking a lot about the long term. So I'll end it for now. You guys have a good rest of the day. Enjoy the haze that's outside, I guess. And we're going to talk in the long term. Come on tomorrow. Something to look forward to, guys. I'll see you on the flip side.